And oh, there's my shoulder. Okay, so why don't we turn the video off so I know what my shoulder looks like. So,
It's an awfully nice shoulder.
thank you. I appreciate that. Sucking up is always appreciated. So anyway, this is ANP1, and I was just talking to Dr. Malik down the hall. I said, there are people in my classroom. What are they doing there? So, because I haven't had a full class for, since March of 2020, something happened that month. So I've been doing Zooms for 2 years and then hybrids for last year. Getting this room has 2 doors. So anyway, this is ANP1, and I'm thrilled that y'all are here. So it's a whole lot. Oh, where'd that come from? It's a whole lot easier to teach and to learn when there's a lot of people around you. So it doesn't give you a place to hide, but it gives you a chance to interact with each other. Labs will be so much more interesting. Now, this is a hybrid. So if one day you wake up and I don't want to go to class, or I slept through the alarm, or my dog got sick, or grandma died again, and don't laugh. My first semester teaching here, I had 5 grandmas die from the same person. True story, true story. Consider, this is Tennessee, okay? 5 grandmas are entirely possible. We figured it out one day. But anyway, that's, so it's a hybrid. What that means is that you can come to class through Zoom if you need to. You don't have to be here every day on the ground. I appreciate it when you're here. I think learning is better on the ground, but because it's a hybrid, you've got that flexibility. We're not going to make it, I was surprised. I got a number of emails over the weekend saying that it said that you have to be here. No, you don't have to be here. It's a hybrid. So this is great. First day. I'm glad you're here. If you live, like in Tazewell or something, you don't have to come here every day for class. Are you all local? I mean, are you mostly Sevierville? Anybody like?
Morristown.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but well, it's up to you. It just, you have the flexibility on that. So I'm like I said, I am excited that that we've got a good turnout today. So, and hopefully we'll hold that for lab. Now, a little bit about the class. Let's see if I can get this to work on here. I haven't Zoomed since, oh, thank you. I haven't Zoomed since May, and I may forget how to do things. So, okay. Question answer to Britley. Is that, did I say it right? You can take your exams. You can either come to class or you can take them on Zoom. You can take them online, not Zoom, but you can take them online. So you don't have to be in person. So, okay, let me see if I can get this to open up now and share my screen. And here we go. Okay, so this is ANP1. And there is a syllabus to ANP1. If you go into eLearn, and eLearn has everything you need for this class. Everything is found in eLearn. The PowerPoints I use for my lectures, the link for your textbook, the emails, and everything else is all found in eLearn. And the most important thing in eLearn is this thing called a syllabus. And despite the fact that I haven't changed the date from spring to fall, it is still the same syllabus. And it gives you information on me, where I'm located. My office is right back there in the corner. They keep me in the corner for some reason. Phone number for the office phone, email address. Always use email to get a hold of me. I'll answer you as quick as I can, usually the same day, usually within 5 minutes. If I don't see it, I don't I have been known to wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning and check emails and answer then. So that's not routine, but I will do that if I see it. Anyway, so everything's in there. Our dean's number is in there. Matthew Smith is our dean of natural science. He's in Morristown, and it's got his phone number there. So if you ever feel the need to talk to my dean, there's his number. The textbook is free. Several years ago, we decided that it was ridiculous for students to pay $300 for a textbook. That's what the going rate of the new Merriam textbooks are. The textbook we use is cleverly called Anatomy and Physiology. What a name! You know, it's from OpenStax. It's a free source material. It's a very good book. It's put together by Rice University in Texas, and I've used it for about 3 or 4 years. There is a hard copy available. There is a loose leaf copy available that you can get. You can print out your own copy of it and punch it on, put 3-hole punches on it and put it in a notebook. You just have, or you can just download it and read it as you go along. So there's no charge for the textbook. There is no lab book. There's just this online textbook. I recommend, if you're going to just stick with the OpenStax book, that you print out the chapters and stick it in a notebook for yourself. It'll be a nice reference later on. The other option I recommend is if McKay's bookstore in Knoxville is convenient, or there's always Amazon and eBay, pick up an old copy of a textbook. It doesn't matter how old the book is. Anatomy books don't change a whole lot, and there are any number of good authors out there. We used to use the Merriam textbook. There's one by Tortura. There's a handful. There's always good textbooks. So if you happen to get down to McKay's or go online and you feel like spending $10, but no more than $10, then pick yourself up a hard copy. Sometimes it's nice as you go through your career to have something as a reference just to keep around. I mean, granted, it's going to be about 3 inches thick. It's not something you stick in your back pocket, but it's a great resource. But don't spend more than $10 because nothing changes other than some names, different organs are called different things now, but they're the same organ. And I'll mention that as we go through. So maybe somebody's name is no longer in favor, but it doesn't matter. It's still the same structure. We may know a little more about it than we did 10 years ago, and you'll hear that from me. And things we gain more knowledge over the past, every year, which I'll try to bring out to you. But the content hasn't changed. Arms and legs and muscles are still the same. So anyway, that's the book. And we have a number of learning outcomes here, and I'm going to try and make this as unboring. Is that a word? Unboring as possible. Okay.
Just interesting.
Thank you. I'm going to try it. Thank you. I'm going to try. That's two. You're on a roll. So that's another suck up. Try to copy him. So okay. Introduction. We will have an introduction chapter. We're going to start that today. Talks about where things are in our bodies. And I'll throw a lot at you, and don't worry about it, because you will acquire this as we go through the semester. Names and terms which will not make any sense today or on Wednesday when we finish up the chapter. You're going to hear it again and again and again, so you'll pick it up that way. Chemistry. We'll have a chapter on chemistry. Why do we do chemistry? Well, it's not because all of us had trouble with organic going through, and that's why we teach A&P and not chemistry. But that's a whole nother story. But our bodies are chemical, and there's lots of things that our bodies depend on chemical reactions to work. And when they mess up, they can mess up big time. And so we have to be aware of the chemical reactions going on in our bodies. You know, anybody ever hear of acid reflux? Right, we've all heard of acid reflux. Acid reflux is caused by an overproduction of hydrochloric acid in our stomach. And we control it with various, what we call proton blockers or proton pump blockers, because it's the little hydrogen ions that make the hydrochloric acid. I've already given you way too much information for a Monday morning, but that's chemistry. You pop a Zantac or Protonics or Pepsid or any of those, and your reflux goes away. How do they work? They block what we call the little proton pumps. That's chemistry. That's how we treat conditions. Cell structure and function. We finally get into some real biology. We talk a lot about the different structures inside the cells. You know, and again, that can get really, really tedious. But then we get a chance to start talking about when things go wrong. Because when things go wrong in our bodies, that's what's really interesting. I like to say healthy people are boring. Because in healthcare, you know, you're looking and you're looking and you're looking and there's nothing there. It's like, oh, you're fine. But when someone comes in with a series of symptoms, you have to try and figure out what's wrong and correct that. Because you're going to, you know, if you're going into healthcare, if you're going to be a nurse, if you're going to be radiology or surge tech, a lot of times you're the first person that anybody's going to talk to. And more people are willing to talk to their, you know, to their nurse, to their surge tech, to the radiology technician than they are to the physician. They feel more comfortable talking to you. Yeah. I mean, after all, when you go into your doctor's office, who do you see first? Right? And you're more inclined, they get you talking and relaxed, and so they do take all the vitals, but they're also looking to see what you're complaining about. So they can tell the next level up, you know, well, he's, you know, there's this bone sticking through his arm. He may be in a lot of pain. So, you know, something like that. Bones, skeletal system. How do our bones work? Muscle system. How do our muscles work? Not the names of the muscles, bones and muscles. We'll get that in lab. But how do our muscles move things around? And then the last third or fourth of the class is all about the nervous system. Nervous system, how our brain works. And this is some of the most fascinating stuff. We're finally getting into organ systems at this point. Why do we do the things we do? You know, why do we have, you know, why do we react the way we do? How can we see things? You know, how do our eyeballs work? How does our memory work? Things like that. Why do we dream? Anybody ever have that dream where you show up and it's the last day of class, you're there to take an exam, you can't get to the classroom? Anybody ever have that? Nobody?
No, but I've had the one where the monster eats me.
Okay, that's a good one too. Anybody ever have the flying dream or the falling dream? Okay, you falling dream or the running and being chased. Yeah, okay. We have consistent types of dreams. What do they mean? I don't know. I know that the exam dream is a very common dream in students, even educators. You know, if I were to ask you, when we had our faculty meeting last week, if I were to ask everybody in the class, hey, I had that dream last night about missing the class. In fact, I told a couple of people and they said, oh, I have that all the time because it's a stress dream. You get stressed, so you have that dream. I don't know why I was stressed last week. It was just faculty meetings. So, but it's a common dream. And if you don't have it yet, I guarantee you probably will. So on the last thing here, is we addressed it earlier, metabolism. How do our bodies get food? How do we break food down? What do we eat that's good for us? And what do we eat that we probably shouldn't eat so much of? And how do we tell the difference? And how do we tell our patients in a nice way that maybe you need to back off the biscuits and gravy and have a little Raisin Bran instead, you know, in a very nice way, and explain why we should be doing that. You know, so because, you know, and I'm not picking on any type of food. You know, I like biscuits and gravy. I also like Raisin Bran. So, but we need to take, we need to take care of our patients, regardless of, what approach, wherever we're going in healthcare. How many are nursing in here, by the way? Okay, about half. Surg tech, anybody? Couple surg tech? Radiology. Nobody in radiology. What else? What did I miss? Who didn't raise their hand on anything? What?
Dental hygiene.
Oh, very good. Very good. My wife was in dental hygiene initially, and then she decided now she's a science teacher. So whatever. So what else?
EMS.
Oh, okay, great.
I'm a real standout. I'm a business major.
Hey, you're not the first. You're
Yeah.
not the first business major I've had.
I actually took this class because I wanted to learn more about the body for art, because I'm also an artist.
And this is a great place to be in then. I had a psychology major last semester in AP1. So, the nice thing about AP1 is, yes, it's required for any of the healthcare professions. It's also a general ed. It's also a general ed, so it knocks out your science general ed too. So, okay, anybody else that oh yeah, can't forget respiratory. Great program too, respiratory therapy, you get to run through the hospital. You don't have to stay at any one place, so a lot of friends of mine that I knew back when I used to live in Virginia many years ago were respiratory therapists. Same with radiology, so, but nobody's going into radiology in this group, are you? So, okay, what else? Did I miss anything else? Okay, so don't be shy. Now in class, we're going to have lectures. The lectures are going to come from the PowerPoints. The PowerPoints are found in eLearn. For your benefit, I have reduced in addition to the PowerPoints, I've given you a PDF version of the PowerPoints, 4 to a page. You can print them out, bring them to class, take notes on them, because the lectures are going to come from the PowerPoints. I'm not going to require you to read, 3 chapters of the textbook every night or anything like that. I don't want to hear about people falling asleep with the book in their face or something like that. It's a good reference, but I'm going to cover the content you need to know in lecture every day. We're not going to go back and repeat stuff. We're going to move forward. Now, the good news is if you have to miss class, the lectures are all posted in YouTube every day. So today's lecture will show up in YouTube probably this afternoon. I have a YouTube channel. I'll send you the link every day for the channel. So you just click on the link. It's a whole lot easier. I used to say, just go to my YouTube channel and look at it. After doing this for 3 years, there's a whole lot of videos on the YouTube channel. If I send you the link for it, you go right to the video you need to look at, and you'll get that email every day of class, so you can go right to it. You can go back and look at it as many times as you want to. So if you have to miss for any reason, you can watch it. If you weren't certain about what I said, imagine that. I might be confusing. So if you're, you can watch it again, and hopefully I'll be clear. I probably won't be any clearer the second time, but you can watch it again anyway. Make me feel like, oh, I watched your video. You're like, oh, gee, thanks, So that gives you the opportunity to go back and look at it again. We will have discussion. I encourage discussion in here. Discussion is going to be free form. If you have a question, raise your hand, ask the question. Don't be shy about it. I love rabbit holes. That's how we learn. We have a little bit of time built into the schedule, not much, but I will never say we don't have time to talk about something. And if I don't know the answer, I'll tell you, and then I'll go look it up for you. So, but we have lots of good discussions, and that's a good way to learn too, and learn about each other. We have a new device here, which we'll get to see probably in a week or two. This is called an Anatomage Table. Think of it as a 110-inch iPad. It allows us to do complete virtual dissection from skin down to bone on life-size individuals. You know, these are images of real people that have been, you know, like a million different photographs have been taken at each layer, and we can go down through that, and it shows animations. We can go inside the heart and watch the valves work from the inside. We can see blood flow. We can see all the structures of the brain. We get into the brain and spinal cord. We'll be able to open up the head and take the brain down, to open up the brain to a certain level and look at it. And we can rotate it around. It is 100% anatomically accurate. We have several different individuals, both male and female. We have an infant. We have different types of trauma in here. So there's all sorts of stuff that we can use this for. We got this. This is probably the best thing that ever came out of COVID. We got one at every campus. We got it last spring. They cost about $100,000 each. So, but we're really excited about this. Since we don't do cadavers, we have the next best thing to a cadaver, because this gives us all the structures without the smell and the fluids, because people are messy. You know? So anyway, we're going to get a chance to use that a lot, and I will probably plug it into the computer so we can project it on the screen, because you know it's great, except that it's hard to get 20 people around this thing. It does stand up on end, so we can look at it from a vertical position. I found that out the first day we had it. I raised it up, and then I couldn't get it back down. And I thought, I broke it. 100,000. I just broke 100. Then I realized it is so heavy that you can't pull on it with one hand. You have to brace it with your feet and pull down to get it to lock in place. It's immense. Like I said, it's like a 110-inch iPad. So, okay. Other things, you send me an email, I'll get back to you right away. I'll get back to you within 24 hours, usually the same day. And I do respond over the weekend. I mean, it says we don't have to respond till Monday, but I'll usually respond over the weekend, especially if we're near an exam or something like that. And things are gonna happen. Things are always gonna happen. People are gonna get sick. Their dogs are gonna get sick. Their parents are gonna get sick. Their kids are gonna get sick. They're gonna have car trouble.
Their grandma's gonna die.
Their grandma's gonna die. You know, they may get arrested for helping grandma die. I don't know. I mean, I've had just about, I'd like to say that I'm not surprised anymore at anything, because I think I've had just about everything happen in the class that could happen. So just let me know when something happens. It's okay. Just tell me about it. You know, make it interesting if you have to know. It's, you know, because I'm going to take you at face value, and because things are going to happen. You know, cars break down all the time. People get sick. You know, we can't control the timing of when we get sick or when family members get sick. Something will always happen at the most inappropriate time. You know, my Basset has pink eye, and I've been treating her over the weekend with these eye drops. Boy, does she hate that, you know. And of course, if you know anything about Basset hounds, they are drama queens. And she has been milking this for all it's worth, you know. Oh, poor pitiful me, except when she gets hungry. So this morning when I was trying to put her eye ointment in, oh no, she wants to go hide. I've got to go to class. I got to go to work. Oh no. Of course, my wife's already gone to school. And so I'm chasing this Basset around the house. I'm thinking, I'm going to be late for my own class on the first day, you know. And eventually she calmed down and I was able to put the ointment in her eyes. So, question? Oh, okay, that's fine. Okay, so things are going to happen, you know. So just let me know. There isn't much I can't fix as far as scheduling or classes or content or anything like that, as long as you tell me ahead of time. And no questions asked. So we're gonna do the very best we can to make sure everything works. Let's see. Comment. What did I miss up here in the comment? Oh, very good. I do have a radiology. Summer is from for radiology. Good. That's good. Please get one. Okay. Now, assessments. Assessments. We have 5 lecture exams. And they represent 90% of your course grade. And then the final exam represents 10% of the course grade. So there's 6 exams. They're all going to be 100-point exams. So the 5 exams are all multiple choice. And so is the final exam. The final exam is given during exam week, usually in here. If you're going to be Zooming, you'll take it with the lockdown browser, but it is going to be comprehensive. And I will do a final exam review, either the last week of classes or the beginning of exam week or whatever works for our schedule. And don't worry about the schedule. If it says the exam is for the first class of the week, and usually that means the final exam is going to be on the first day of exam week, I don't want to do that. I'm sure that you all would like to not jump into the first week. I'll have a lot of flexibility on when I'll give you the final exam. We can decide that later. Anyway, lecture exams, the 5 lecture exams. I don't have any dates for the lecture exams. I used to go through my syllabus and put in the dates and say, okay, we're going to do the first test on September 14th. Well, whatever day that is. Well, what if we get discussing something and we chew up a lot of time? So I've stopped putting in the dates because I don't know when I want to get there. Every semester is different. So what we do is when I finish a unit, and a unit consists of 2 chapters, like for example, unit 1 is chapters 1 and 2. That may sound logical, but then the next unit is chapters 3 and 24. And one after that is chapters 6 and 9, and so on. The chapter numbers are based on the old textbook we used years ago. I've just never changed the numbers. And most anatomy textbooks are going to keep that same system where the first chapters are usually going to be introduction and chemistry, and chapter 3 is usually cells. So we just kept the numbering system for convenience. Anyway, every time we finish a unit, I'll say, okay, let's say if we finished the unit today, I'd say, okay, let's have our exam next Wednesday. Give you, a little over a week to get ready for it. Go back and review it and do stuff, review your notes. But in the meantime, we'll start new content. So if I finished right now, we'd start the next unit. That would not be on the test. The test would only cover everything on chapters 1 and 2. So you'll have plenty of time to get ready for your exam. That way we don't have to worry about, are we on track for the date? Now in lab, you'll hear me say differently. In lab, the dates are set. In fact, there's a lab schedule in eLearn in your content. There's one posted on the bulletin board there and one down outside the bulletin board at the other end of the hallway too. So because I have to do the labs repeatedly, we keep them running we don't let the date change on that. So now there is a little flexibility, nothing is ever set in concrete. We do have, some flexibility. If you miss something, if you can't be, if something happens, I'm given three lab exams in the same week, and you always have the option of coming in and taking it with any one of those classes. So it's like if you're in the Tuesday lab and something happens or you're just not ready, and that's a valid excuse. Come and take it on Wednesday or come and take it on Thursday. because they're going to get the same exam. Well, not the exact same exam, but they're going to get the same content. So you have, I can give you some flexibility in that. So grading scale, you can see it there. 90% and above is an A, 80 to 89% is a B, 70 to 79 is a C, and so on. Remember, it's percentage. It's percentage. So now, as far as do I curve? No, I don't curve. However, if your average comes out to be like an 89.51, then I will roll you over to an A. If that's a curve, okay, it's a curve, but not, I will always give you the benefit if I can. So make sure you give me something to work with, as far as these points. But if you are on the line and you're just slightly over the line, and I'll roll you to the higher grade always. So let's see, any questions on anything? So, okay, what else? Class participation is required. Attendance is reported. Yeah, I'll pass this sheet around every class. And let's see what else. Extra credit. Now, in your e-learn content, let me go over here and show it where I'm looking at here. Extra credit is not required, but in the content section, let me go down here. Here we go. Here is what we call Softchalks. This is it's like a online review session that you can earn points in. And there are 5 Softchalks that open like this. Is Intro to the Human Body. It would open up when you click on it, and it looks like this. And there are questions that you answer through here and little quizzes, and that all feeds into your grades. If I go in here into grades, you can see that the lecture exams. And at the end of everything, we have the Softchalks, and there are 5 Softchalks worth a total of 25 points of extra credit. Now, you don't have to do them. If you're getting into the 90s on your lecture exams all the way through, you're not going to get an A++ by doing Softchalks. You can do them for the benefit you might gain from it, but you're not going to need the points. However, 25 points added to your total may be enough to push you up from one grade to another. Just something to think about. See, and the way that 90% score is based on 90% of all the points possible. So there's 600 possible points. 100 points for test 1, test 2, test 3, test 4, test 5. And the finals. There's 600 points. 90% of 600, if I do the math right, is 540 points. That's how we look at it. We just throw all the, tally up all the points you've earned, and that's your score. 90%, 80%, so on. So if you're sitting there at 530 points, which is going to get you a B, and you do 25 points of extra credit, that's going to push you up to over 540. That'll get you your A. Or if you are at 300 and what is 80% of 400. If you're at 470 and you're looking at a C, your extra credit pushes you up over 480 and gives you a B. So it's to your benefit. You don't have to do them. But it is to your benefit. And if everything works, they should show up on here. Now, they will not be added in to your final grade until the end. So for some reason, I can't get eLearn to add in the extra credit points without messing up the total number of points you're supposed to have. So, but I will add the points in, so I'll have the scores here. You can see them on the screen in those little boxes. I'll have the scores from your total, and I'll just add that into your final points, and that'll give me your new score. So I hope it doesn't sound too complicated. It probably does. I'm probably making it worse than it is. So anyway, but it's easy for me to do, and this way, you don't have to do it. So the faculty, the A&P faculty have the option of not giving any extra credit, and some don't give extra credit. So, but the rule is that we can give extra credit, but you got to earn it. So, okay, any questions on anything? Let's see if I missed anything else here on the syllabus. Credit. Cheating. The exams are, I'll tell you this. My exams are drawn, I have my own test bank. Every exam that I print out, if you take it online, they're going to be all different from each other. I haven't gone to that limit for printing out exams in class, but it happens over the course of the year. I've seen it. I'm not going to say anybody here's going to cheat, because you all look incredibly honest. So even you. So, the business major. So I'm not going to pick on you. So who's your advisor?
Joe Fall.
Joe. Oh, I'm really sorry for that. So I know I've known Joe since I've known Joe for 19 years. So no, he's a good guy. You can tell him I said that too. So anyway, the point is that, if you find an old test, great, look at it. It'll help you. It won't be the same questions. And the thing is that, I've been giving exams here for 19 years. There's only so many ways to ask the same question about the same topic. So when it comes down to it, you either know it or you don't. And I find that people that take advantage of the system, if they use it to get into whatever program they're going to, it's going to trip them up there. Because I've had students that have made it into the nursing program and then failed out because they couldn't keep up with the pressures of the program or the content they had to know, because they spent too much time just sort of coasting by cheating. Okay. I just have to say that type of stuff. Now, there's all sorts of resources for you. If you need help with tutoring, Jennifer is our tutor down in outside what's that office, that room right outside of where Dr. Malik's office is, at the other hallway down there, the other end of the hallway near the library. She's excellent. In fact, I also use Jennifer to proctor makeup exams, get to know her very well, be very nice to Jennifer, because she does it as a favor for me. So, so she'll help you in everything you need help on. We're supposed to have an A&P tutor. I don't know where we're going to get one, but we're going to see what we can do. The hard thing about getting an A&P tutor is if someone takes A&P, then the next semester after they're done with A&P, they're usually into micro or something like that, or they're gone. They're in nursing, and no one that's in one of the further programs is going to come back to be a tutor. They don't have time. So, but if you have any questions, come see me too. Let's see, what else? Anything else of value in here? Oh, this is important. You go under assessments and go to quizzes, you will see a series of practice tests available to you. The practice tests opened up this morning, and the practice tests are over each unit area. They don't count for anything. And you can take them as many times as you want to, because they're going to address the topic areas of the real test. And as I said, it's awfully hard to ask the same question in a different way every time. So you'll see familiar topic areas. You may end up even seeing a couple of the questions on the real test that came from the practice test, but it's very useful. It's a good way to review for the final exam too, later in the semester, is go back and look at the practice exam and, take it as often as you would like. Doesn't count for anything, but it's good preparation for you. So, okay, yes.
Does the practice test one, does it correspond with the units?
Exactly. Practice test 1 corresponds to unit 1. So it'll be all about introduction and chemistry.
All right.
And the same with 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we don't have a practice exam for the final. And you'll see that the final is listed on here. The students that are going to be Zooming will be using this version down here, which will be different from what you all have if you take it in class. So let's see. Could I make this any more boring today? Okay, any questions?
Assignments due online for you?
No, you have no assignments due. The due date on those Softchalks are the end of the semester. I have it set, I think, for either the 6th or the 9th of December. So they opened up today, and they should be open now until the end of the semester. Practice exams are good till, I think, what do I have? December 2nd. That's the last day of classes. But there's nothing assigned. It's all up to you. You can work on it at your own pace, and that's fine. We're going to go fairly quickly, but not unreasonable, because I know this is all new to a lot of you. So but I will definitely, make sure you have time to stay current with it. Let's see, it could have been worse. There are people that this morning are reading the syllabus to you line by line. No, thank you. Yeah, I couldn't do that. I'm sorry. I'm not that boring. So, any questions on anything else? So, okay, then I'm going to go into the PowerPoints, and hopefully this will, I guess I'm still on sharing, so I guess it's there. Now, these PowerPoints on the printout, did anybody print out? You printed out the whole thing, didn't you?
Yeah, I accidentally printed the first one out, page by page.
That's okay, it happens, what you get, let me go back in here real quick. And go in. Yeah, it's okay. Okay. You'll see in the content, there's the PowerPoint, there's the PDF version. The PDF version looks like this.
Yeah, I got the other one.
Yeah.
You want to see what it's supposed to look like?
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to look like, that, so you have plenty of spaces in there to take notes, because this is where I'm talking about stuff. And so go ahead and print that out before you come to class. And that'll be a great place for your notes. Now, the other thing is that the real PowerPoints have all the animations. Whenever I have any kind of animation or something, the PowerPoints will have that. So now okay. So, sorry you had to print out there, but they were only like what, 50 slides?
Yeah.
It could have been worse. It could have been in one of my classes. I've got 180 slides. Yeah. So yeah, always print double-sided too. So, okay, let's go into this. I hope everybody can see it online. This is chapter 1. This is the introduction to our bodies. And the reason that we start here is not because it's called the introductory chapter. The first thing we want to do, though, is get us to speak in the language of anatomy and physiology, because we don't talk, in the same way as other people do. We use terms like dorsal and ventral and medial and lateral. We don't use left and right anymore, or up or down, because up and down don't mean the same thing. If I say up to you pointing at something, you could interpret it any number of ways, or the same with down. If I say, this is my right hand, I think, yeah, it's my right hand. Your perspective, it looks like it's my left, doesn't it? Because the way you're seeing it is opposite. This is my right side, but if you're looking at me, it looks like it's my left side. When I draw a picture of the heart up here on the board, for example, I don't know, let's see. Human heart. Now, if I label this the right side and this is the left side, anatomically, that's correct, as if the heart was sitting in your chest like this, which it is. But the perspective of it is wrong. From our perspective, I just labeled the left side of the heart the right side. So that's why we have to communicate. We have to understand how things work. So terms mean something that are a little different than just left and right and up or down. And one of my favorite old horror movies is the first Frankenstein. And you'll see there that Dr. Frankenstein is coming from the monster and yelling out, "It's alive." You ever pick up on that? It's alive. Doesn't say he's alive, she's alive, it's alive. Because he's just looking at it as his creation. The terminology is correct. Very subtle point here, because the creature was put together from a variety of body parts. So anyway, and so it's just okay. So I like to watch old monster movies. Okay, anatomy and physiology, two compatible topic areas. Anatomy is the structure. Physiology is the function. Anatomy is what it looks like. Function is how it works. Our heart is a 4-chambered heart. It has 2 upper chambers and 2 lower chambers. Its function is to pump blood. Its function is to pump blood both to the lungs and to the body at exactly the same time, with exactly the same amount of blood going out both sides of the heart. Because if it doesn't do it right, then we have problems. We have lots of problems that way.
Like not living problems.
Like not living, that's a good point. Yes, not living problems, or ultimately not living problems, because we lead to, for example, congestive heart failure. Congestive heart failure is a very common problem with heart disease, where one side of the heart can't keep up with the other side. And we end up with, the amount of blood leaving the heart at the same time has to be equal to what's coming back to the heart at the exact same time. Because if we don't, it's going to back up somewhere. We don't like that. So now, we look at anatomy, we have a lot of different topic areas. We have macroscopic anatomy. That is the surface anatomy, for example. That's like, oh, I've got 5 fingers or 4 fingers and a thumb. I've got my skin. We can look at the various large structures, arms and legs, and the head, the neck, the shoulders, the torso, the abdomen, stuff like that. That's all macroscopic. This is the surface anatomy. We look at our skin. We look at cuts and scratches on our skin, or we look at bruises, or we look at just, does our skin look healthy or does it look damaged? I have 2 dogs, you can see, that they were nice enough to give me lots of marks just for class, surface anatomy. Doesn't bother me. It's just it's the price you have for a Jack Russell and a Bassett. So as active as my Bassett is, the Jack Russell, I mean, as inactive as the Bassett is, the Jack Russell makes up for both of them. So anyway, surface anatomy. And you can tell an awful lot about a person's condition by surface anatomy. A good way to tell if someone's getting enough oxygen can't depend on the skin, because everybody's got different skin color. Nail beds, fingernail beds never lie. Fingernail beds are always pink, and they turn blue if a person is cyanotic or not getting enough oxygen. Doesn't matter the skin color. The nail beds are, you look at a person and their nail beds are blue. It tells you that they're not getting enough oxygen. So the term cyanotic, for cyan is a color, well, we know that from our color printers. Cyan is blue. So we look at our nail beds. You're evaluating a patient for the very first time. Are they getting enough oxygen? That's a macroscopic observation, just looking at the nail beds. So because the thing is, underneath the skin, we're all exactly the same. That's the thing about it. But there are some things that will show up on the surface for us. Microscopically, we get into a little more interesting aspects. And I shouldn't say interesting, because I know that the dermatologist would argue, say, well, we think we're pretty interesting too, so. But microscopically, we can look at cells. Cytology is the study of cells. In lab tomorrow, you'll get a chance to look at your own cells. It won't hurt, I promise. It's never hurt yet. You're going to take a toothpick and scrape the inside of your cheek with the toothpick, scrape off some cells, put them on a cover slip, on a microscope slide with a cover slip, a little bit of stain, and you're going to see your own cells. That is cytology. We're looking at our cells. Now, you won't be able to see much. You'll be able to see the cell and the nucleus, and that's about it. But that's us. Histology is looking at tissues. You have a pathologist looks at a funny mass that's been taken out and cut up into thin slices, and looking to see, is it cancerous or is it benign? Is it, what's going on here with this mass? So microscopic anatomy, people with a great deal of patience and curiosity, go into that. Physiology, the other side of the coin. Physiology looks at the organ systems. Everybody, pays attention to the heart. We look at the heart, as far as how's it, its pumping actions. It's probably because heart disease is one of the #1 killers in the South, particularly in Tennessee. So we pay a lot of attention to heart disease. But the heart is fascinating. The ability to continually pump 70 times a minute. Exactly, a healthy heart pumping 70 times a minute for 80, 90, or 100 years, doing the same thing over and over and over again, exactly right every time. We look at something as mundane as swallowing. What has to happen for us to swallow? That's what's going on in the picture on the right there, the X-ray. Someone is swallowing. All the mechanics, the anatomy and the physiology working together. How do we not swallow into our lungs? And then this other one here, this one that's blowing, that is movement of filtrate through the kidneys. Again, how do our kidneys filter out our fluids in our bodies? Our blood is filtered. Our complete blood supply is filtered 60 times a day. We filter our blood so rapidly that if we didn't recover most of what's filtered, most of the fluid, we dry up in 45 minutes. But we filter and filter and filter. We generate about 1.5 liters of urine every day and get rid of our waste products. And we replace that with that urine we lost with water, and we keep filtering over and over and over again. Because if we stop filtering, we're going to be dead in 48 hours. You know, good rule of thumb: kidneys fail, death in about 2 days. So if nothing is done. Okay. Now, to understand physiology, you got to understand physics a little bit, and pressure, and chemistry, and electricity, because we are electrically charged organisms. If you were to stick a voltmeter into our skin, it would register somewhere in the neighborhood of about -90 millivolts. So we are charged. And that electrical charge is what allows us to contract our muscles and send nerve impulses down our nerves and across our brain. So we breathe thanks to pressure changes in the air around us and inside our body. So you know, we smell things by picking up molecules in the air and then detecting them. We have very sensitive odor detectors called chemoreceptors or olfactory receptors in our nasal cavity that generate nerve impulses that tell our brain what we're smelling. And then our brain has to say, okay, here's what you're smelling. And then it triggers the memory of what it is. You know that memory and odors are linked like that. Because not only do you, when you remember that that's an odor, let's say you smell a rose, that's a rose, but it can also lead you down a whole nother pathway of memories involving roses. Or maybe you smell grilled, I don't know, hot dogs, turkeys, smoked turkeys, you know. Maybe you smoke a turkey at Thanksgiving and you smell that, and then you start thinking about other events, and you know, who knows where that, just from the odor. So because odors and memories are so linked. You know, how if you like coffee and you smell that coffee brewing in the morning, and you already know how good it's going to taste just because of the memory of and you look forward to it. You know, my wife and I joke that sometimes we look forward to our morning coffee so much we say, oh, I can't wait to go to bed so we can get up and have our coffee. You know, we've actually had that discussion. So you know what I'm talking about, right? Yes. Oh yeah. And we are definitely coffee snobs. So nothing special, but you know, we love our coffee. So, okay. So our bodies are pretty amazing. Let's see. Okay, we've got a half an hour yet. So according to that, it's 22, but it's, you know, so. Okay, we have to understand the terminology. We have to be able to know what the various structures are called. We have to consider all the chemistry involved in our bodies. One thing we do remember is that our bodies are complementary. Structure and function work together to get things done. There's a reason we have a 4-chambered heart. We have 2 receiving chambers and 2 pumping chambers. They pump separately, one to the lungs, one to the body. The structure is going to allow the function of having a 4-chambered heart, a 2-sided pump do its job. The structure is designed to meet the function. You know, our lungs are inflatable to allow air to come in, and our lungs are microscopically thin. The texture of the surface of the lung is about the consistency of wet single-ply toilet paper. It is that thin. That's, you know, and that's probably thick. So it's very, 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 very sheer material that lets gases go back and forth. So that's its structure. Its function is to allow gas exchange. And all these organ systems And all these structures all function together. So now this is a slide that gives me a chance to take a sip of coffee because it's a really tedious and boring slide. But it basically, we start out at the level of an atom and end up with an organism because we get more and more complex as we go along. We go from atoms to molecules to cells to tissues to organs. Cells make up tissues, tissues make up organs, organs make up organ systems. Like organ system, the urinary system consists of the bladder and the kidneys and the ureters and the urethra. Urethra is how we get rid of urine. The cardiovascular system consists of the heart and all the blood vessels. The respiratory system consists of the lungs and the airway and the nasal cavity and stuff like that. So all these things are made up of different structures. Part of the system, structures are made of tissues, tissues are made of cells. And we're made up of systems. So I just said all that. We start at the chemical level and we get all the way to the organismal level, meaning us. Organs, two things to remember, there are 3 and 4. Tissues are groups of cells, cellular cells. Organs have 2 or more types of tissues. Just sort of circle that and make a note to star there. That's one of those questions that always seems to pop up somewhere in the future. Okay, now, there are 11 big systems in the human body. The skin, the integumentary system, big word. The trick question is, what is the largest organ system in the body? Or if you say it on the body, what's the largest, or what is the largest organ system of the body? The skin. Everybody says the brain or the liver. The key word is of, because the integumentary system is massive. It has skin, sweat glands, oil glands, our hair, our nails. It does all sorts of things for us. It's part of our immune system. It keeps the bugs out. Bacteria can't crawl through our skin unless there's a cut. Viruses can't crawl through our skin unless there's an opening. So it's our first line of defense against pathogens. Don't say bugs or germs, we say pathogens. Our skin protects the tissues underneath. The outer layer of our skin is nothing but dead cells. The cells you're going to scrape off your cheek tomorrow or later in the week is nothing but dead cells. The living cells are underneath. You're not going to stick a toothpick down into the living cells. That would hurt. So you're going to scrape off the dead cells. We shed skin all the time. We don't see it, but we're all shedding skin cells right now. It's how our body gets rid of the old ones and new ones are pushing up underneath. And we make vitamin D. The living cells in our skin make vitamin D for us. Vitamin D allows us to absorb calcium. We need calcium for our bones. We need calcium for our muscles. We need calcium for our nervous system. So we need calcium for our heart. And so we get our vitamin D from exposure to sunlight. Our skeletal system, which takes advantage of this vitamin D and calcium, is all of our bones, the cartilage and the ligaments that allow the bones to do their job, the structures that hold the bones in place. Our bones support our organs. They hold our organs in place. You ever wonder why in a model of the body, all the organs are like stacked in place correctly, and they're not like dropped into a big pile at the bottom of the abdominal cavity? It's because our bones help hold our heart and lungs in place here and provide protection and framework and support there. They hold our muscles together. Our bones allow our muscles to work better. Our muscles aren't strong enough to do their job unless they pull on bones. They use the bones as levers to amplify their strength. And we also make blood. Our bones are where we make all of our blood. You know, anybody going into radiology is going to know that you don't x-ray the sternum for any long period of time, because that's one of the, as adults, that's one of the few places in our bodies where we make blood cells now, is in the sternum, and also the hips at the top of the hip bone. And it's a great source for minerals. Calcium and phosphorus are stored in our bones. What's the problem that older postmenopausal women might have?
Fractures.
Fractures, yes. And what's a very common one? Osteoporosis, you know, which leads to fractures. Because what happens in postmenopausal females, because they don't make estrogen anymore, and estrogen is essential for bone growth. Because they don't make enough estrogen, they may lose their calcium and their bones get weaker, and they can have fractures, and their bones get very, very thin. You know, lots of older postmenopausal females shrink in stature because their vertebrae collapse, because the vertebrae are getting weaker, and they may end up stooped over like this, and they may have bulges at the top of their, along their back, simply because they're losing calcium. So not everybody, not every postmenopausal female is going to develop osteoporosis, but some do. So I'll throw the postmenopausal females under the bus later on. Okay, muscles, muscle system. Muscles do all sorts of things for us. They allow us to move. They pump our blood. They allow us to show expression, look on our face. All the little flat muscles around our face allow us to show expression. Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you annoyed? Are you tired? Are you frustrated? You know, are you can't wait to get out of here? You know, type of stuff. That's what those muscles do. They allow us to turn our head left and right. They allow us to raise our arm. They generate body heat. You know, our body is constant at 37 degrees Celsius or 98.6 because of the heat coming off of our muscles, mostly our skeletal muscles, mostly our arms and legs. They also hold us upright. So when we sit or stand, our muscles allow us to, not sort of fall over. The muscle system works with the nervous system, the brain and spinal cord, and all of the associated nerves tell us what's going on. Are you hot? Are you cold? Are you thirsty? Do you have to pee? Are you hungry? Whatever. Can you hear things? Can you see things? That's all part of the nervous system feeding into and coming out of the brain. The brain's telling us what's going on. It is one of two control systems in our bodies. It is extremely rapid. We can't process how fast our brain works. Nerve impulses travel through some of our through some of our nerves at 300 miles an hour. That doesn't sound really fast when you consider that the longest nerve in our body is only 3 feet. So 300 miles an hour over 3 feet to us is instantaneous. So we can't tell the difference. It is the fast control system. I'll digress here for a second. The endocrine system is the other control system. It is the slow control system. The endocrine system is slow, but it lasts much longer. It might have a response that lasts for years. The endocrine system is the pineal gland, the pituitary gland, the master gland of the body, thyroid gland. Who hasn't heard of the thyroid gland? That's right here in the chest and in the throat. Controls our metabolic activity. The adrenal glands, they sit on top of the kidneys. They control all sorts of things like our response to stress and fluid control, things like that. The pancreas pancreas produces insulin. Who hasn't heard of insulin? You know, what problem do we have with insulin in the pancreas? Diabetes, exactly. It's also one of the key illnesses in Tennessee and in the South. The ovaries and the testes produce sex hormones. These hormones, all these hormones that are produced by the endocrine system, they have a slower response. You know, insulin gets released when your blood sugar goes up a little bit and it brings it back down. Insulin allows the cells to suck up that extra sugar and use it. And the response time is, you know, you eat a donut and your blood sugar goes up, and in about 10 minutes, your insulin gets released, your blood sugar is back down, whereas the nervous system is instantaneous. This is slow. Now, some of the hormones, like the ovaries and testes, are going to last, the response is going to last for years. Your, in the ovary is going to be secreting estrogen from puberty to mid-50s. Yeah, that's like what, 40 years of estrogen release? Testosterone is going to get released from puberty till death. So there's 60, 70, 80 years of hormone release and hormone control. So while the endocrine system is slower than the nervous system, its effects are longer lasting. You're going to hear all about the endocrine system in AP2. In fact, that is the endocrine system in the AP2 class is one unit unto itself. So now, cardiovascular system, the heart and the blood vessels. The heart pumps blood. It's a four-chambered heart. The right side pumps blood to the lungs to be pick up oxygen, bring it back to the heart, and the left side pumps it to the body. And we use all the vessels, you know, arteries and veins. Arteries send blood out, veins bring it back. Okay. Lymphatic system. Lymphatic system is part of our immune system. We hear a lot about immunity to diseases these days. We talk about COVID. We read about monkeypox. That's the new one on showing up. You know, how do we how does our body protect ourselves? Why do we get a flu shot every year or not? You know, what about, oh, here's one. Anybody know what showed up in the sewage in New York City recently?
Polio.
Polio, yes. Polio, which has not been eradicated. Polio has been, shouldn't be showing up anywhere. But polio, many people got polio vaccinations when we were children, and it pretty much went away in the US, and now it's showing up again. We've got one case in New York, and it's showing up in the sewage. Why in the sewage? Because the polio virus is carried in fecal matter. So why is that there? And who's immune to it? Well, if you've ever had, you know, if you've received a vaccine at some point, then you should be immune to polio. So that's something that, you know, where did that come from? You know, no one's expecting, you know, that's a term, that's a word that hasn't been kicked around much for years. But there are still pockets in the world where polio is still active. Polio attacks the central nervous system and the muscles, and it causes paralysis of the muscles because they no longer, either the nerves that control the muscles are destroyed. So it attacks in the spinal cord, and it can attack skeletal muscle or respiratory muscle. So, and it was quite the concern in the 1950s. There were what they would call polio epidemics. Now, the actual numbers involved here were 10,000 cases a year, you know, which these days we wouldn't consider that very big, but when it's affecting mostly children, that gets your attention. So, oh, I don't know why it's, okay. I'll have to get back to you on that one. So at least you'll be able to see the video. So there's a problem with the slides not moving forward. Okay. Anyway, so our immune system is our lymphatic system is how we protect ourselves against pathogens. We use our white blood cells as infection fighters. Our white blood cells will attack and destroy pathogens. We develop immunity, either artificial immunity we get through a vaccine or natural immunity. If you've had some sort of disease and some sort of infection, then generally you should be immune to that. We don't see many cases of people with chickenpox anymore, but if someone's had, you know what chickenpox is, right? Most of us have gotten shots for it, or you may have had it. If you've had it or got the vaccine, then you should be immune for the rest of your life. No guarantees, not 100%. I used to say, well, if you've had chickenpox, you'll never get it again. And invariably somebody raised their hand, I've had it 3 times, So that's one of the things about A&P. There are very few absolutes in A&P. We assume that if you've been vaccinated, you're not going to get it again. We assume if you've had it, you have natural immunity. No guarantees. You should have natural immunity. Most people do, or acquired immunity through a shot. Most people do, but there are exceptions. So, and sometimes you just don't want to be exceptional. So our lymphatic system is going to be helping to produce that produces our immune response. So, okay, respiratory system, our lungs, our airway. The role is to get rid of the carbon dioxide and recharge our cells with our red cells with lots of oxygen. We'll talk a lot about that in AP2. The beauty of our lungs and our blood together is that even when we send a red cell through our whole body, it gives up its oxygen, comes back to the lungs. It still has 80% of the oxygen it started with. So we have a reserve always built into our blood. Digestive and urinary. Digestive is how we get rid of our food and release the energy stored in there, because that's what our food's for, is to give us energy to do things and get rid of the indigestible components. If you like raisin bran, for example, if you like anything with bran, anything with fiber in it. If you like corn. Anybody like corn? Yes, sort of. Okay. The outer covering of the kernel is indigestible. The yellow or white husk on the individual kernel will pass through and show up in your feces. It's the contents on the inside that our bodies use. The indigestible stuff doesn't get touched. It just passes on through. Same thing applies to any kind of beans, high in fiber, high in carbohydrates for us, gives us lots of energy. Anything, the husk of any kind of grain is not going to be digested. That's where we talk about whole bran. Whole bran refers to the outer covering on the wheat kernel. And so none of that stuff is digestible because it's the same stuff as cellulose, stuff that we see in trees and shrubs. We can't process that. We get the good stuff on the inside. Urinary system, our bodies generate lots of waste products based off nitrogen. We have to get rid of that. If they accumulate, it kills us. So we have to get rid of it. We have to regulate our water levels. You drink a lot of water, you're going to have to pee. You go out on a hot day and you sweat and sweat and sweat. You're not going to pee very much because you're retaining water. Your urinary system protects you that way. This is one of my favorite slides here. Our digestive system does not like nails. Why would somebody swallow 87 nails. You know, but it does make a great X-ray. So, and you'll notice that not all of them are up here. Some of them are already down here trying to process. They look really, those are big nails too. So, but yes, we don't like things like this in our digestive system. One of the things that you'll see in both AP1 and 2, you will be amazed at the number of things that people can do to themselves or do to each other. And we have lots of imagery on this. So, and of course, the reproductive systems, we'll talk a lot about that in AP2, the structures and the function in here. And okay, and this is a great spot to stop, okay, on this. Any questions on anything? Yes.
I don't so much have a question, but something I might find interesting. So back to the about the heart, where it's got 4 chambers.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather's heart, like the bottom 2 chambers, were legally dead for 40 years,
Okay.
and like he had like a massive heart attack, and his heart bypassed the bottom 2 chambers and he died. And so he lived off just 2 chambers for like 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
It gave him vascular dementia, but they didn't get enough oxygen in his blood, but.
Right. And you know, and that there's nothing, it's almost impossible to say that that something can't happen, because it can, you know. He was getting enough blood just to keep himself alive, but not the level that he should have had.
Not without a cost, but it still works.
Yeah, yeah. You know, our heart is amazing as what it can and can't do. You know, so, okay, good question. Any other questions? Any comments? Well, I think I'll just call it a day then, and stop the sharing. I'll send you an email later today with the link to the YouTube video, so you can, if you really want to be bored later today, you can watch it again. So I recommend, you know, only watching the part about the actual lecture. Okay, we can get out of here. And thank you for being here today. I'm going to enjoy this. I'm glad you're here. So
Yeah.
don't be afraid to ask questions. I'm glad you do. So,
Something else too, like I tend to crack a lot of jokes, you know, I like feel stressed.
that's fine. Go right ahead. You know, if you don't, I will.
I
So,
love that.
I don't have a question. Mine is just a concern as far like English isn't my first language.
uh-huh.
So if you don't understand me or you have nothing clear what I'm trying to ask, so say please.
Oh, sure. And if you don't, if I'm not clear to you, let me know. Don't be afraid.
So far, so good.
Okay. Don't
But
be
I will
afraid.
let you know. I
Don't
will
be
ask.
afraid to ask.
So
Okay.
great, thank you.
Thank you. So I'll see you all Wednesday. Oh, are you in lab tomorrow?
Well, I'm in lab on Wednesday, so
Okay.
I'm lab Thursday.
Okay, well, I'll see you in lab later. I'll see you in lecture Wednesday then.
so we don't have lecture Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday?
No, lecture is Monday and Wednesday.
Monday, Wednesday, tomorrow, we don't have
Okay,
class
we're
tomorrow.
class tomorrow. So,
I'm confused on my schedule, so we don't have 3 times lecture.
no,
in the
we
week.
have 2 lectures on Monday, Wednesday. Lab is on either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. You have
I'm like on Wednesday, so right after my
Yeah, so-
lecture, yes.
right, so you don't have anything until Wednesday.
Wednesday. Okay,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Okay, see you all later.
See ya.